We don't talk about this before we do this?
No, man, this is, we're just talking.
Oh my gosh, come on. Yes, my name's Mark Kriemer. I run a small family-owned restaurant down the street called the Beer House.
Good. Now, Mark, tell me, how long you been at Whitewater?
Approximately 3 years.
Okay. And tell me again how you found out about this church. What was it? Was there a event that you remember about that with me or someone else?
Sure. I bumped into you at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you were getting ready to start the church, and you were holding some envelopes in your hand. And, you know, being part of the Catholic religion my whole life, I knew what the envelopes were about. It was, you know, about
like
giving,
offering envelopes.
Giving to the church. And I had at that point in my life had a strong pull to look for another church.
Yeah.
And it happened to coordinate really well when I met you. And the offering part is a big thing because the church doesn't exist unless there's money to support it. And I think I even asked you for a box of the envelopes.
Most unusual conversation for somebody that hadn't been to church. You know, usually you're afraid that people think the church, all they're asking for is money, and yet the first conversation we had, hey, I remember you saying, I want some of those envelopes, because we were reviewing what they look like, and that impressed me back then. I said, this guy has a different view of stewardship and God and money than most people, and that has been true for all of the time that you've been here and these things that we've been talking about. So your background, grew up Catholic, Mark?
Correct.
West Side all your life?
Correct.
And what was it about this church in particular at Whitewater that appealed to you that was different than the foundation on which you started?
One of the big things was the child ministry, because I'm at the point in fatherhood where I need to start teaching my children about religion.
Yeah.
And taking them to the Catholic service, they were getting very bored, falling asleep. I had to look for something else. So coming to Whitewater and seeing the child ministry and how they relate to the children on their level. And then, of course, when I went to a service at Whitewater, I was just totally captured by everything that was going on. I mean, my little girl often asks why I'm crying in church, which I tried to hide it, and can't explain everything, but it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about giving in particular, because I think that God has developed an attitude, a direction. He's really changed your thinking, not only on your business, but on your personal finances. Talk a little bit about what God has taught you about what you own and what you have.
God has taught me that I refer to him as the big boss, meaning we all have a boss, or maybe we're even fortunate enough to own our own businesses, okay? We still ultimately aren't the big boss. We still have someone that owns everything that we have. Similar to a company owns the business that you work for, God owns everything that we have. So ultimately, we work for him. And just as we try to impress our bosses at work, we should try to impress our big boss, God.
Yeah.
And part of that, just like when you're an employee, the best way you can impress your boss is by making him more money.
Yes.
The best way I feel that I can impress my boss is by how I give to him so he can use this church to spread the word and do good things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so you kind of see your business, you've been approaching it as this is...
It's God-owned.
Absolutely. I think you're just as much a minister as I am. You're just cleverly disguised as the owner of the beer house. That's what I think.
I don't think this church would be that big if I was running it, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I noticed Mark, you sent me a letter, which I thought was great. I want to talk about this savings book here. And this was from Mark. This is, again, why I wanted you to get to meet Mark and hear from him directly. But he had sent me this savings book, and this ties to not only what we're talking about with the ABCDs of financial freedom, but it also kind of segues into phase 2 in preparing for what will be a future campaign to raise monies for that. And you referenced the big boss in here. And the way that you approach it, it says, see this bank book example of how small amounts can add up quickly. Hopefully it makes the big boss happy. And it says, you could put in your note, dreams without preparation lead to failure. We must build a strong church and keep the big boss happy. I love that. So this is a passbook savings account that you have done with a local bank. And I see little amounts over various days. Tell me about why did you start this, and tell me what you've learned about this.
Well, the savings account method is something that I used in business that works very well, knowing what your fixed costs are, putting them aside daily or weekly, however you're paid. So when we started the campaign for the future development of Whitewater, I put together a savings account book, and I set a discipline of $1 amount, okay, that I'm going to deposit it in that account every day.
Yeah.
I believe we started out, I think, with $20 a day.
Yeah, I saw that. Little amounts, little by little.
It's just amazing how it will add up over time.
Absolutely true. And I see this is back from even February, January. Looks like November. You started this a year ago.
Correct.
And look how, I haven't seen the latest book, but money's growing by little, and you're in a position now to make a very generous contribution and investment in the future of Whitewater in phase 2, just little by little. So Solomon says in the Bible, money grows little by little.
Correct.
And boy,
Correct.
This is just a great practical way that you have shown that.
But that money is also a blessing from God.
Yeah.
Meaning, our businesses can dry up overnight. Okay, I don't consider myself in any way, shape, or form some great businessman. There's been many times over the course of the 20 years that I've run that restaurant, I should have failed.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've sat in my office and I know that there is that God is taking care of that restaurant for a reason. Okay, and I believe Whitewater is a part of that reason.
That's a good one. What if you could speak into someone in the church sitting out there who's not at a place where they've been able to start giving, that maybe they're trying to figure out, can I trust God when I give some back to Him of His money? And what words would you say to them about beginning this journey of tithing or trusting or giving, that you could speak into their life? Because that's a fear, isn't it, that you have to overcome in faith? What would you say?
Well, sure. And you have to realize where everything came from. I think that says it all. If you realize that God has given you every blessing that you have, regardless if you're a wealthy man or not so wealthy of a man, everything has been given to us by God. And to put Him last on the list as far as what we do with what we have is, my mindset is not what God can do for me. My mindset is how can I impress Him? How can I impress Him? He's given me my own business. How can I impress Him with that business?
Yeah, so it's thinking of Him first and not last.
Correct.
And starting small and then growing perhaps. I've met lots of people who give money, small and big amounts. I've never met anybody who gave to God who regretted it.
You have to be able to give. You gave a sermon on it one time. You have to be happy that you're bringing home money to the Lord.
Yeah.
that has to create a good feeling. If it's a burden,
Yeah.
something's not right. A man bringing home money to his wife and his family is a good feeling. That's what we as males draw a big portion of who we are.
Right.
Okay? That needs to be transferred into giving it to God.
That's good.
You know, we need to impress him. You know, he's done enough for us.
Yeah.
He died on a cross. What more do we need? He died on a cross. Why we need to impress him. He doesn't need to impress us anymore.
That's true. He's done it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One other thing before we go. This is really good. This is awesome. You are so passionate about the church and inviting people to come to church too.
Yes,
I know
sir.
this. And I know you've invited people who eat at your restaurant. I know you've invited some of your workers in the restaurant. Tell us some techniques that you have used and to invite people to come, because some of them are quite unique. Share a little bit about that.
You know, in the restaurant business, you know, there's always people that work for you that, you know, they have needs.
Yeah.
So I've used some techniques where they've wanted either a money or a possession.
Yeah.
And I always tie along with that, you owe me 4 Sundays at Whitewater.
Yeah.
Part of that's 4 Sundays at Whitewater.
Yeah. And
don't think I'm not going to check up on you.
So there are certain incentivization plans that you have used. I just love that. You get them here anytime, any way that they can come. Right?
I hope it's the right way.
Yeah. And you know what? You never know what God will use to do that, because you really believe that once someone comes and experiences what you have experienced.
Yes, like we initially talked about, my initial draw to Whitewater was not just meeting you, but getting my children on the right path. Yeah. Once I attended the service, okay, the feelings and the draw towards what God wants was so amazing.
Right.
I only have to get them here probably once, but 4 times I know I'll hit a home run.
Yeah, I love that. All right, any other word that you want to say to the Whitewater family about things God is teaching you, or hope for the future of the church and things of that nature?
Just always remember in the back of your head, okay, that God has given us everything we have. You know, everything from the clothes that we have to the house to the beautiful children. Honor him by what we do with his gifts. So you're serious, I did an okay job.
Oh, it's fantastic. Absolutely. We do this all the time. You're good.
Well, that's what I prayed. You're good.